the there- there's a real struggle, if you will, I think, for leaders of associations. Um, you know, there's a challenge, I think, in terms of what do we do with the limited resources we have at hand. We only have so much time because, as Mary mentioned before, we've got a day job. We've got other things. So this isn't those kind of plus hours. We work with an all volunteer staff. We don't necessarily have a place to go to get education on what does it mean to lead in this environment? What does it mean to manage? What's the skill set we need to successfully run an association on this limited time, limited manpower, and certainly limited dollars. So, having walked through a lot of those struggles, and as Mary indicated before, sometimes successfully, sometimes we're just chock full of lessons to be learned. That's why this organization came about, and specifically this symposium, because in this symposium, we talk a lot about general leadership. So there'll be people here who may or may not have a direct connection to an association. And that's okay. I mean, anything we can do, anything you can share with others that helps them on their journey helps elevate our community of interest, our community of practice, and the community that surrounds us. So thank you all for being here. I hope you're taking a lot of notes. I just want to say, at this moment, a special thank you to Mary for being here and offering to help out. Brings, it's got a real heart for leadership, a real heart for community service, and brings an incredible energy to any event. She's been for some time, I guess that's the delightfully neutral term, for some time has been leading others on their own path, be it a leadership path, be it a financial security path, but does it with an incredible passion. And I'm with her on this. It's like I really hope that everybody has an excellent experience here that you can apply to not just your association life, not just your professional life, but to your life in whole. There's a lot of stuff we'll be talking about over the next couple of days that speak to leadership of yourself as well as leadership of others. So again, please take a bunch of notes. If it's getting too heavy, pull that stress ball out of your swag box. And if you didn't get one yet, it's coming soon and it won't stop your participation here. So again, I'm so happy to be here. We'll be using the chat box pretty extensively throughout the entire symposium, and that's just a matter of being polite and being present and allowing our presenters to do there. That being said, we will always have a room host available. So if you'll notice, like in the gallery, you see Anna and Elizabeth. They've got this rather distinctive, similar to this one, background. So you'll be able to pick them out. If you're having a technical challenge, or if there's something else going on, or you didn't hear something, probably the best thing to do is just get hold of the room host right there, and he or she will make those connections for you, maybe cross some T's and dot some I's, and use the magic that we do in the background, to help you out. Also, like I said, we'll be posting most of the questions. Sometimes we'll open up the mics and let folks, self-unmute. It really kind of depends on what the presenter wants to do and the time we've got allotted for that. Looking forward, just a sneak preview of where we're going today. We'll be starting off keynote in just a couple of minutes. Chip Dodd. He'll be followed up with a plenary session. David Hart talking a bit about vision, mission, and values. And we're going to wrap the evening after that with a couple of opportunities for you to engage or disengage, as the case may be. DJ Plastic Vibes will be here, spinning some tunes in the main room. That runs between 8 and 9. And at the same time, we'll also have a few breakouts open that you can drop into if you want to pick chips, brain a little bit more, go into a little bit of a deep dive with Dave. So at this point, any immediate questions? I think we can self-unmute. We'll find out. As the host, I never know what's going on. But if you've got a question right now, at a minimum, go ahead and raise your hand. You can either wave it at me if you got your camera off, or if you got your camera on, or the little reaction bar on the bottom. And I'm looking in the chat box. I think we're just ready to keep rolling here. So, Mary, did I miss anything?
No, I just want to request that if you can, if it's at all possible, when our guest speakers are on, if you could please come on camera. You don't have to be beautiful, because you could be blurred on Zoom and takes all the wrinkles away. Just a little tip, but it's really true. Come on camera, however you are, to see you and be with you makes such a massive difference for our speakers. So if it's at all possible for you to be on camera, please do. It just, it creates an entirely different energy. And that's one of the most important things we want to give as a gift to our speakers, because they have prepared and poured. They're prepared to pour into you. So Mark, you're a great host, great event. Turn it back to you, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Just one reminder, I'm going to drop this in the chat box right now. If you have not done so, no more fun than watching somebody type. I've just dropped into the chat box and apparently just gave it to Cindy, so I'm going to try that again. A link to our online agenda or program. And you're welcome and encouraged to take a look at that. You'll see what's going on. You can dig a little bit deeper into the bios of our presenters and our team. And here we almost go. So, so you're welcome to just have that open on the side as you peruse, but we're going to turn this over to our keynote, Chip Dodd. I met Chip in a business networking group, club thing quite a few years ago, and I've been very fortunate to maintain that connection with him. Not only great business advice back and forth, but he's a pretty good friend. His taste in friends might be a little questionable from that, but there we go. So Chip, are you ready, sir, to share away? And it all starts with that mute button. There you go.
Yeah, the mute button. Yes. Well, Mark, thank you for having me. And people don't know this, but you're a risk taker, because I'm like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. He wanted us to turn in our presentation ahead of time. And I was like, no, you might take something out, but either way, guys, thanks so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this whole event. The speaker lineup is amazing, and I look forward to learning from many of you. And so I'm going to try to share a little bit of my story and kind of hopefully enhance your experience moving forward. But before we do that, I'm going to throw out a little bit of a tricky question, and I appreciate if everybody throws it in the chat, an answer. And if you don't have an answer, the answer can be 0. But what age were you when you found out that society has been lying to you about how to live a happy life? Do you know what age that occurred in your life? That the making lots of money and the nice car and the pretty spouse and the fine dining. I mean, I'm just throwing out some of the cliche stuff, the big boat, to Tesla. That's the one nowadays, right? You're cool if you have a Tesla, or you want to save the planet. I guess that is kind of cool. So I'm seeing some 30s in there, 26, 32, young. Wow. 9 and 14. Impressive. It's like just a couple more minutes. Oh, sadly, 51. Mark saw my lifestyle. He's like, I'm going to change. Let's see. Good. 15. Wow. It's kind of all over the place. And nobody put a 0, because if you still think that living a good life is what society told you, you'd put 0, and I don't see anything. Predicting 65. By the end of this conversation, who just put that? Hang on. Predicting. Burned? Predicting at 65. No, today I'm going to pop your bubble. Okay. Still waiting. Good, Mary. This is good. Under 10. Okay. All over the place. Okay. So that's really, really helpful. Mine occurred right around, it was kind of a window of time, but it was right around the 2012, 2013 timeframe. At that point, I'm a CEO of a big company. We support people with intellectual and developmental disabilities all across the state of Virginia. We have hundreds of employees. Things are going really well. I had everything that makes people happy. Nice house, not a huge house, but I mean a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom ranch home in a nice neighborhood with a good school district. I had a Toyota Tacoma 4x4 that I loved, had a boat. The company was going good. We had we did acquisitions and had some really good years, and we had our down years too. We can talk about that later in the after the thing. But basically, there's absolutely no reason why I shouldn't be happy, like legit happy. But something just wasn't right. And the worst way to find that out is not just your own kind of happiness, is that somebody I really, really cared about was having a hard time, was also not happy, and almost committed suicide. Like literally missing. And I personally found them with the help of the police in Virginia Beach. And I've looked into the eyes of somebody in despair, like the depths of hell, if you'll put it at that. And it's just something like, holy crap. Somebody put it in the chat. Wow. Damn right. It's wow. I've never seen anything like it. And for me, it was like, something's wrong. Right. So I've never been suicidal, but I have felt that way where it's like, why am I not happy? And here's this person that needed some serious help. So for me, that was a turning point. I was like, something's got to change. Everybody has taught me in my life is a lie. And from here on out, I am making my own rules. This is Chip's New World, Fantasyland, and basically the sky's the limit. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that, and it's going to help you with your impact organization. So I will wrap this back around to the leadership symposium aspect. Okay. So needless to say, right around 2014, late 2013, 2014 was my period of creative destruction, which is an economic term for like, the minute the buggy whip manufacturer has to go out of business because Model T Ford or whatever, Model A Ford comes in. Right now, combustion cars are getting disrupted by Tesla. So creative destruction is a very healthy thing in the capitalism world. And so usually companies that come out the other side of creative destruction, if you're one of the winners, is a very good company on a new disruptive technology. So that's what happened to me in 2014. So what this is going to do, this story, what it's going to do is change the prescription of the lens in which you're viewing this symposium. When you go into these sessions, I want you to think slightly differently through a different lens than you did when you showed up for this Zoom call right now today. Okay, so how do you change? How do you do that? How do you redesign a life from the ground up? So let me go ahead and hopefully we tested this with Mark, but I want to see if my little screen share thing works, and I will be very ecstatic if it works. Boom, look at that. It actually worked. Okay, so let's just pretend that you can, and you can do this on a piece of paper in front of you. Mark told you need to have a pen and paper. So I didn't want to take up a lot of time doing an actual survey. But basically, this is my happiness scale. Instead of the thing society lied to you about, meaning money, big house, blah, 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 I looked at it and said, you know what? The thing that makes me happy is I want to do what I want, when I want, with who I want to do it with, where I want. I mean, basically who, what, when, where, why, and how. And if you can do stuff on that scale to the right, meaning I am doing it, I'm doing what I want, when I want, where I want, just all of that is like perfect freedom. And it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with all the stuff about the house and all that stuff. So maybe just take a second and just write down who, what, when, where, why, and how. And on some scale, you can pick 1 to 5, 1 to 10, just write a number next to it. Say this month, let's just use this month for an example. Are you where you want to be? And I don't mean like, oh, I'd rather be on vacation in Bermuda. I meant like living. Where do you want to be? Where do you like being in Virginia, or would you rather be in Colorado like Mark? So, I want to be in the mountains. I can't stand living at Virginia Beach, but my company's here and my dad's here and my girlfriend Andrea is here. And I was like, I can't live in the mountains right now, but I can go there a lot. So just take a minute, write that down, and think two things. What could make that better, make that slider move in the correct direction? And what's the thing that's holding the slider to the left? I'm not going to have you share it because it's none of my business, but this is how I redesigned my life. Okay, so I'm going to stop share real quick. Actually, I'm not. Let me see. And the other thing real quick on this whole happiness slider thing, this is not for your average person who is like getting shot at, doesn't have housing, doesn't have food. I mean, this is more of a self-actualization happiness scale. This is like all of your personal needs are met, but you still feel shallow. You still feel like something's missing. This works great. Okay. This, again, if you don't have food on the table and you live in a violent environment, get that fixed first. Okay. But this is, people on this call are probably not getting shot at. So I'm going to assume you guys are self-actualizing at this point. Okay. So I'm going to stop share real quick. Okay. So with that, all of that in mind, what I did is I wanted to redesign my life around the sliders, and anything that pulled it to the left, I was like, I got to get rid of that. Anything that pulled to the right was like, I need to figure that out, whatever it is. What I found out is adventure. A lifestyle of adventure is what I wanted. That's where I feel alive. I want to be on top of, this is the Peaks of Otter out here. That's Sharp Top, I think. I want to be on the top of that mountain. I want to be whitewater rafting. I want to be rock climbing. I want to be mountain biking. I want to be doing amazing stuff, pushing my limits on all levels, whether it's scuba diving. I mean, it just doesn't matter. It's like, there's got to be an element of risk. I like doing it as a team because it's always fun to get those high fives after you've achieved something. But either way, that was mine. It was going to be adventure. Okay. So this is what, now it's going to get a little crazy. This is where you're like, Mark, this guy is nuts. But here we go. Change that out real fast and let's do another screen share. All right. So guess what? I was like, I'm renting my house out. I'm going to buy a warehouse. I'm going to use this as my office. I'm going to move all my crap in the warehouse. So I'm not going to have a yard. I'm not going to have a dog. I am not even going to have food. You guys see Fight Club? Remember when the dude's house blew up and everything got spread all across the thing and all he had was condiments? That's me. This is my refrigerator. It has I can't drink beer anymore, but that's a beer keg filled with water so I can drink seltzer water. And I what is that? Some pickles and some cranberry juice because I like to mix it with adult beverages. That's my kitchen in the warehouse. And so this is the, I sold my Toyota truck, which I absolutely loved, and was like, nope, guess what? I'm going to get a cargo van. Actually, it started off, I got a cargo trailer and we built that out. We're going to live out of this little cargo trailer and pull it around with my little 4x4, but that just kind of sucked. And trailers are kind of hard to pull around, especially if you're in downtown DC trying to stealth camp. It's like, screw it. Alex Honnold, the professional rock climber, has a cargo van. I'm like, if he can live in a cargo van, I can live in a cargo van. So that became my goal. I'm gonna try, how many days of the year can I spend in this cargo van? And so and guess what? All of a sudden it was like, wow, this is my home. So especially when COVID hit. So just so you guys know, I have multiple home offices. This would happen to be my home office in Charleston, South Carolina, in a van down by the river. Just a few weeks ago, we were in Bedford, right? Here's my home office. Away and on a hilltop in Bedford with an absolute beautiful view. Not Bedford, I'm sorry. This is Buena Vista, Virginia. And just this week, I'm sorry, here's one a little closer. This is Harwood's Mill Reservoir. I have a home office over there too sometimes, depending on if I want to go mountain biking or trail running. Just this week, I was getting ready to put on a race. So it was my home office in Gloucester, Virginia at Beaver Dam Swamp. Here's the view from my office. Not bad, huh? See what I'm getting at? Like, I want freedom. I'm right here. I'm at First Landing State Park with the doors open and I'm enjoying Mother Nature and a few deer flies and all that kind of stuff. I like this office. I didn't like going to your typical office with your typical cubicles or all of that. I just, you know what? I want to be out down in the van down by the river, much as possible. Some of the stuff I had to give up. Of course, I liked the dog. Dog had to go. SPCA. That was hard. But all the plants, all the food, anything that takes time, responsibility, excess money. I wanted to be able to leave Virginia Beach for a year and nothing happens. No grass grows, no bacteria grows, no plants need to be watered, nothing happens. Okay, so best picture this year was Nomadland. Okay, I don't know if anybody watched that. It was like the most depressing movie I've ever seen in my life. Okay, that's on the other end of the spectrum of what I'm doing. Okay, I am enjoying every minute of my life in a van down by the river. That lady wasn't having a good time, but it had nothing to do with the van. That had to do with loss and loneliness and all that stuff, which I'm not. Yeah, but it's a great movie. Check it out. Chloe Zhao, I think, is best picture or something like that. Director, amazing movie. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, guys. Okay, so my quest for adventure turned into adventure racing, which think of as like an off-road triathlon. So it's always a trekking section, a paddle section, meaning whitewater or stand-up paddle boards. It could be anything. And then a mountain biking section. It's all map and compass navigation. If you guys watch Amazon Prime, America's Toughest Race, World's Toughest Race, which was Eco Challenge Fiji. That's my sport. That's what we do. And I'm talking big multi-day expeditions all around the world. Belize, we've done Africa, we've done Oregon. I mean, we've done some really, really cool stuff. So that's the knee deep in mud and loving life, is we are running around in the woods, getting muddy, getting dirty, playing like 12-year-old kids, even though I'm 40, almost 48, having the time of my life. I'm like, why did I ever stop riding my bike and running around the woods with friends? So that's the crazy that has been my life now for, I guess, the last, I guess it's been 9 years, I think, when that occurred. Okay, so now let's bring this back around to what we're here to talk about, which is most of us are serving on some type of board for some type of impact org to make a difference in all of that. But the word service to me is, I don't like, right? Because service kind of means sacrifice. And I mean, I don't know. I don't want to feel like I'm sacrificing. So I like to think of all of this type of work that we're doing, making a difference, is a little bit like the airline, where you got to take care of yourself first with the oxygen before you help your kid. And that feels awkward because you're selfless because you took the oxygen first. But at the end of the day, I believe we're all our best self if we are okay ourselves before we go out and try to help others. I think we need to get our stuff together. So that's one thing on the happiness sliders. I think we should all do that personally and professionally, and then also with our impact organization. I see that Nicole's got a presentation coming up, and I can't wait, the big picture. And I think she's going to talk a little bit about this in there. But basically, the idea is life is short, play hard. If the answer isn't hell yeah, then it's F no. Okay. That's the mindset we need to get in, especially in our later years. The average age, I'm sorry, not the average age of disability, but I think like 2 out of every 5 Americans are disabled by the age of like 62 or 65. So my clock's ticking fast if I'm going to keep doing these crazy adventures around the world. I need to get it done fast. I'm not willing to sacrifice anymore. But to also help lead you in your organization and how to make this difference, you also need to know your personal why. I think Mark said David Hart's going to touch on this. That was really helpful for me. I went through a session like his. So if you don't have a personal a why, then go to his session and figure it out. You need this in your life to help you make decisions, just like the sliders. So my mission statement is realize success by helping others realize theirs. So it's realize my success, right? I'm number one first. It's a little selfish. It's also objectivist, as Mark called me out, I think. A little John Galtish. But I want to realize my success by helping others realize theirs. So the idea is that I support people with disabilities. If I can make their life amazing, then I'm going to support more and more and more people with disabilities. Meanwhile, I'm living a successful life in the van down by the river and everything's fine, right? So I love the idea of helping others, but don't do it at a loss to yourself personally. So in my past experience, I've been in a ton of different organizations' boards. Okay, I'm talking everything from Rotary Club board, United Way. I've been on the board of multiple trade associations and multiple industries. I was on the Down Syndrome Association board. I even worked for the Boy Scouts. So I've been a district executive that did what the board told me to do, even though the Coastal Empire Council was a little corrupt, as many of you guys have seen in the news. And I hated it. But the two that I really appreciate the most was the adventure racing kind of trade association, because what I really love to do is help people get outdoors and experience nature and get outside. Like just get out of the city, go smell the flowers, look at the mountains, look at the birds. That's where I find my happiness. And so anybody that's interested in adventure racing, I love helping them. And then my favorite from a professional standpoint is Entrepreneurs Organization, which we help other entrepreneurs learn and grow. And so seeing an entrepreneur's business flourish because you had an impact on their life is really, I have really enjoyed that aspect of my volunteering on different organizations. So as volunteers, I would really say, find out your personal why and then figure out why is it that you're volunteering to begin with to make sure it's in line with whatever organization you are with. For example, most of us want to make a difference. That's kind of the gimme, but other than that, we're all professionals. Are you also trying to do a little bit of marketing? Like maybe some people could be your client if you get a good interaction with them. Do you want influence? Are you trying to be a politician and change the world that way? Do you want power? I mean, it's okay, but I'm not a big power guy. Some people want power. That's what makes them feel good or whatever. You don't have to tell people, but if that's really what you want, just you personally need to know that's part of your motivation for volunteering. Are you networking with other people? That's always a fun one. Especially if you're on a worldwide organization, networking around the world is really cool when you can call somebody up in Ireland and say, hey, could I crash at your place? And then maybe just friends. Maybe you're a lot of people that have kids are like, oh my God, I want to talk to an adult that's above 12, And so some people get out and volunteer because they just want human interaction with an intellectual that's not going to ask them for more cookies or something, you know? So just identify why you're doing it. And again, hopefully the volunteering you're doing is bringing your sliders to the right, okay, not the left. If they're bringing it to the left, it's sacrifice, and people don't like to do things they don't like to do. And so you're probably going to suck at it. So make sure whatever you're doing, whatever you're volunteering, bring your sliders to the right, because that's how you're going to make an impact, in my opinion. Let me look on anything. Oh, another thing, a lot of boards are nonprofit. I firmly believe it doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit or for-profit, it's still a company. It still has income and expenses and needs to operate like that. And so everybody is on the entrepreneur level from one end to the other. But usually you're somewhere in the middle. You know, I'm one of these people, like, I started my first company at 18 and was actually doing business prior to that, but I got caught. So the idea is that even for those of you who maybe work for the government, you're doing some volunteering, you still need to think like an entrepreneur if your organization is going to be really successful. So let's get into the next one real quick. I want to bring up one more slide. I'm almost done. Okay, so let's look at the impact slider, impact org slider. Oop, that's the old photo. There we go. Okay, so take this crazy life experience that I've had, apply it to whatever organization you're in. Where is your organization on that happiness scale? Is your organization doing what it needs to be doing for the right population? Is it doing what it wants to do? The people on the board are passionate about it. Is it where you're doing that work? Is that working? Because the idea is, if you can slide all of these sliders, who, what, when, where, why, how, for your organization, that's going to help your organization make decisions and keeping you on track and not getting distracted, which is a huge part of being an entrepreneur, is not getting distracted. Last couple of things I want to talk about, and I'm running out of time, but it's an important thing that Mark and I talked about that you guys are going to be looking at over the next few days, is goals. A lot of times organizations try to set goals. They set big goals and little goals. Both are super important. I want to give you an example. It was one of my favorite races of all time we did in Africa, but not the real Africa. It was 1,500 miles off the coast of Africa on a little island called Rodrigues, which is part of Mauritius. And this is a 5.5-day World Series race. And it was amazing, which is where that photo came from. This was me with all of my sliders matched to the right. I'm hanging out with the locals. We're getting ready to start the race with some of my best friends that I just met in South Africa, who are about to do the hardest thing I've ever done. And I just met them 24 hours before, other than on Zoom. And so think about this. If you're going to cross the finish line of Expedition Africa, you're 3,000 miles away with people you don't know, the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, and the moment you're looking at is like the moment in my life I felt most alive. And I have not been able to replicate it because they haven't done another really, really big race. To get your organization to have that moment, you've got to build in lots of tiny little goals day to day. We didn't get to that finish line because we didn't train every day, break stuff and fix it, and work together as a team. But then those little goals have to have something that they're moving towards this big, massive goal, that it's got to have an element of risk. It's got to be done with your team. And there's got to be the chance that we can't pull this off. So each of you guys have an organization. Think about some big goals that you can do, because even if you don't reach the goal, you've moved in that correct direction. But my God, the high fives and the hell yes and the celebration when you achieve that goal, whatever that impact is you're making when you achieve that goal, it's probably going to be one of the biggest highlights of your life. Okay, that's what Chip has to say. Hopefully you got a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of a new lens. Really appreciate you guys being a part of this, and I look forward to meeting you over the next few days.
Awesome. Let's come off of mute and make some noise for Chip Dodd sitting at Seashore State Park.
In a
Swatting
van.
away the flies. Was that incredible? What an energy source you are, man. You are fuel. So a couple of things, Chip, so much. I know I took 6 pages of notes, but a few things I wanted to capture here. I'm very excited. I can see, actually, by show of hands, how many of you can see that during COVID, one of your survival techniques was to tone it down and maybe get into a little bit of a comfort zone in making things a little smaller so you could survive? Anybody have that experience or witness that? Like, tone it down, minimize your expectations. Well, frickin' A, Chip Dodd just blew the doors off of that. Like, I think I'm taking away from what you said, Chip. It's time to re-examine my why on a whole new level for an entirely new season. And, I wasn't sure I was excited about your van, but all of a sudden it's not necessarily the vehicle you're traveling in, but it's the view you have and the freedom you create for yourself. So I hope all of you take away, first, just acknowledgement that you're here, that you were here for Chip's talk and what you have done so well, because Chip's accomplished so much in his life. And yet he set the reset button and gave us all a great way to do that. So who's up for pushing sliders to the right in all areas, right? Awesome. Chip, thank you so much. You are incredible. Let me turn it back to Mark. Mark, there you go.
Thanks.
Wow, that was amazing. Thanks, Mary. Geez, Chip. And unlike everybody else here, I even got a sneak preview of this. I'm still chilled and I'm thinking about all my sliders and where they are. And for me, one of the things that really hit home that I'd like to share was Chip's sense of deliberateness about doing this. And I think the sliders are a wonderful analogy, a wonderful tool for that. So I'm in a place where I pretty much love what I'm doing. I mean, I love this stuff. And then there's some other things I'm doing. But I fell into them, and maybe that's why it took me till 51 to start, understanding that. So I just think this is an incredibly enlightened opportunity to really take charge, and I think this is going to fit really well with everything else we're going to hear in the symposium, everything else we're going to participate in, everything else we're going to learn in the symposium. Is it's leading others, leading yourselves, and stuff like that. But this, what Chip just shared, really shares purpose and a methodology, I think, to all right, how do we pull all this stuff together, and why are we pulling it all together? So that was pretty amazing, Chip. You are
Thanks, guys.
That's way cool.